Good evening, everyone. If you'll all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll begin the meeting tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Nice to see so many faces here tonight. I understand we have quite a few people signed up to make a citizen statement tonight, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes, but I thought I would let you know we're well over our minimum, so not a minimum, but we're well over the number that we normally expect, so we'll have to reduce tonight's speaking allotment to 2 minutes, so plan accordingly, please. So tonight, the Board of Education, we are honoring an outstanding group of Parkway nurses and teachers. We're recognizing nationally board-certified nurses, teachers who have completed maintenance of certification for national boards, and national board-certified teachers for the first time. So first, I'd like to invite Diane Brown, Director of Health Services, to introduce the newest nationally board-certified nurses and recertified nurses.
Good evening, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, Board of Education, Dr. Marty, Mrs. Stover, and the Parkway community. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate the outstanding achievements of our school nurses. Tonight, we will recognize nurses who have recently achieved national certification in school nursing, as well as those who have recertified in the past year. National certification in school nursing is a significant accomplishment that reflects expertise in school nursing and is a testament to a nurse's knowledge and competency. There are approximately 83 certified school nurses in Missouri, and we can proudly say that 20 of those are Parkway nurses. Nurses being recognized tonight, please join me. So first, we will recognize our nurses who are recertified, and that would be Jennifer Baker. Jennifer Baker is the nurse at River Bend, and she was certified in 2019. Ruth Collins is our early childhood nurse, and she initially certified in 2008. And tonight we have Karen Malik with us. Karen is the nurse at Green Trails Elementary. She initially certified as a national certified school nurse in 2018. Karen's continuous pursuit of knowledge and her dedication to staying up to date with best practice in school nursing reflects her commitment to providing high-quality care to the nurses at Green Trails. Karen, if you would. The next two nurses that we will mention tonight are our newly certified school nurses. Samia Das is the South High School nurse, and she was unable to make it this evening. Jamie Creher is with us tonight, and Jamie serves as the school nurse at Sorrento Springs Elementary. She works tirelessly to ensure that students feel safe, cared for, and welcomed every day. Her dedication to students at Sorrento Springs earned her the recognition as Sorrento's Teacher of the Year in 2021. Please join me in congratulating the nurses on their accomplishments. Thank you, Jamie.
Next, please welcome Dr. Amy Gerken-Coates, our Talent Development Coordinator, who will introduce the National Board Certified Teachers.
Good evening, Dr. Marty, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, the rest of the members, and I don't see Mrs. Stover, so, oh, there she is, hiding. Each year, I have the opportunity to come to you and honor the Parkway educators that have earned the distinction of becoming National Board Certified Teachers. This year it is with additional pride I am able to honor not just our 5 outstanding educators with their certification, but 11 additional educators that went back and did it again to earn their maintenance of certification. So if you are a new National Board Certified educator, would you please join me? As you know, National Board Certification is an advanced teaching credential. It complements but does not replace a state teacher's license. National Board Certification is achieved upon successful completion of a voluntary assessment program designed to recognize effective and accomplished educators who meet the high standards based on what an educator should know and be able to do. Throughout the process, educators apply what they're learning to their practice and connect with other educators pursuing certification. As a district, we support educators throughout their journey with a scholarship and partner each candidate with a current Parkway National Board certified educator to serve as a mentor. With roughly only 3% of educators earning this certification nationwide, I'm also proud to report that we have another 25 educators at different places in their journey, collecting data, videotaping lessons, measuring impact, and adjusting instruction to be able to join the ranks of 71 previous educators that have successfully walked this path. Applications are now open for the 24-25 scholarship, so I'm sure we will have more joining this group soon. To put this accomplishment in perspective, only 1,204 educators have achieved national board in all of Missouri, and just 29 earned their certification this year. Tonight, we celebrate our newest members of this very elite group. Please join me in congratulating the following educators. Diana Lurkins for English Language Arts, Adolescent and Young Adulthood. Garona Mayberry from Special School District, Exceptional Needs Specialist, Early Childhood through Young Adult. Alicia Ross cannot be with us tonight, but she earned it for school counseling, early childhood through young adulthood. Diana Warren, art, early adolescence through young adulthood. And a former TLA colleague, Dr. Courtney Yeager, career and technical education, early adolescence through young adulthood. If you earned your maintenance of certification, will you please join me? Congratulations to Andrea Benmavar. Congratulations, Christina Prudence. Congratulations, Diana Coffey. Congratulations, Graham Allen. Congratulations, Jennifer Meyer. Congratulations, Joel Rodemeyer. Congratulations, Julia Orr. Congratulations, Laura Schisler. Congratulations, Lindsay Katz. Congratulations, Melissa Horman. And finally, congratulations, Terry O'Leary. Let's give them one more round of applause for this incredible work.
Congratulations, and thank you again for all the teachers and nurses and their families for joining us tonight. At this time, we'll take a brief break, and we'll resume the meeting shortly. All right, if everyone is ready, we'll resume the meeting. Let's see. So next up, I have several additions, corrections, and/or modifications to the agenda. Those include 7.01, addendum to agenda item 11.16, approval of personnel items. 7.02, addition of agenda item 11.40, approval of emergency replacement boilers, Central High. 7.03, 11.39, approval of student threat and suicide assessment management tool pulled from the consent agenda. This item has been pulled from the agenda and will be brought forward for consideration at a future meeting. Next up is public comments. It's during this time that we provide an opportunity for citizens to make a public comment in order to maintain an open and respectful dialogue with our community. Public comment session is not the appropriate forum for addressing individually identifiable student and/or personnel matters. Therefore, due to privacy laws protecting students and employees, comments about these matters should not include personally identifiable information about particular students or employees. Members of the public, staff, and students are encouraged to utilize established policies and procedures for offering suggestions or addressing concerns and complaints prior to bringing the issue before the board. Please be mindful that the meetings of the board, including your statements at the podium, are broadcast and that you are responsible for any public comments you make. In lieu of a public statement, you may choose to submit your comments to the board in writing. Also, due to time constraints and the need to complete our primary responsibilities of our meeting agenda, we cannot respond during the meeting, so you will receive a response from us in writing. We're always available to have an open dialogue outside of our meetings and can be reached by email or phone using the contact information on the Parkway website. Tonight, as I mentioned, we have a number of speakers. Each will have 2 minutes to come to the podium. Once you get to the podium, you'll have 2 minutes to introduce yourself and let us know your affiliation with or connection to Parkway, and then share the message you'd like to share with us tonight. In fairness to our speakers and to keep our meeting running as efficiently as possible, I will also ask you to refrain from applause after each individual speaker. Welcome to applaud everyone when we're finished. I will call on speakers in order that you have signed up, and I will do my best to pronounce the name as you hopefully intend for me to, but I apologize in advance if I don't quite get it. And I'll also give you 2 or 3 people at a time so you know that you're coming up. So unfortunately, Krish, you don't get any advance warning. You're up. So we'll start with Krish Bhagat, followed by Eileen Datillo and Scott Davis.
All right. It's kind of weird facing this way, but we'll make it work. Hey, my name is Krish, and I'm a senior at Parkway West High School. Here are some things you may already know about me. I rehabilitate songbirds at a local clinic every Sunday. The nightjars are my favorite. Part of Parkway Pass, and I'm a captain on my school speech and debate team. And last spring, I was one of 5 students at the district who received a perfect ACT score. Here are some things about me that you may not know. After switching schools, I was bullied throughout 5th grade and middle school. I never felt safe nor welcome at school. I was once brought into a counselor's office out of safety concerns in 6th grade. The issue died there. I only reached out to my counselors last December. This was the first time I talked about my mental health to anyone, including my parents, in over 5 years. I'm standing here today speaking in front of you all because I'm still scared. Scared that kids like me, kids who look like they're doing all right, kids who don't know how to get help, kids who have no one to talk to or trust and are unsure they'll even graduate, will slip through the cracks. This proposition is undoubtedly a positive step forward and will help the students whose mental health needs are immediate, apparent, and critical. However, I'm afraid this will not be a preventative measure and that the diverse spectrum of mental well-being will be reduced to 3 separate tiers. Mental health is not a system. It is a journey, diverse for every single person, that will determine the rest of our lives. This is a discussion not with optimization and best practices at its heart, but the students of Parkway and how we can support them, regardless of identity and circumstances where we once failed them. I implore everyone here to never forget the students affected by this proposal, and to never allow another student to slip through the cracks. Rest in peace, Haran Kumar. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Eileen Datillo.
Good evening. I'm Eileen Datillo, currently payroll specialist in facilities. 40 years ago, I started my career with Parkway in the kitchen at South High, then part-time in facilities until a staff secretary position opened up in the library at Central High. I later became principal secretary and bookkeeper for the building. Anticipating my son's college expenses, I needed a 12-month position and returned to facilities as payroll specialist. I've held that position for the last 24 years. Both my sons attended Parkway schools from kindergarten to graduation. Parkway has been a very important part to my family. I've loved every job I've had with Parkway. My coworkers were family. Parkway used to be one big family. We all felt cared for and valued by building administrators and district leadership. However, I feel that over the last several years, all of this is gone. Employees no longer feel that they matter. A lot of good employees have left the district. Parkway hasn't kept up with other employers. It lacks incentive to hire new employees and keep current employees. Morale seems to be at an all-time low. Another big concern of mine is lack of communication. When our employee handbook was recently revised, several important changes were made that affected my job, particularly how employees were to be compensated for overtime. I received no notification of these changes and revisions and was not prepared to answer questions from employees. The handbook was posted and went into effect without email notification to employees either. I'm saddened that the Parkway we all knew and loved seems to be gone. I still hope things will turn around before I retire. Thank you for your time.
Next up is Scott Davis. He'll be followed by Michael Burtz and Linda Gieseking.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Scott Davis. I'm here to make a statement on mental health resources in the district. I've had 4 children go through the Parkway school system, and each of their journeys has been different. 2 of my daughters have submitted letters, which will not be read tonight, but you'll be able to see those later. Suffice it to say, my oldest did fantastic at Parkway West High School, but was like our first speaker, somebody who achieved a lot, but it wasn't recognized what kind of mental health challenges that she faced. She had problems with self-harm and even acted on those when she got to college. That really began our journey understanding mental health. Our second daughter was able to take advantage of the resources that were available, having better knowledge of these things. With the school, 504 plan was developed for her, which really helped her to succeed. Our youngest is a freshman, and we expect he's going to do great. But we know that he'll continue to have challenges as he goes forward, and I'm glad that resources are available and in place to help us face those challenges. As a family, we've recognized that not everyone is fortunate to have the right people in their path to help find the right resources needed in difficult times. We believe this school district has the right vision of helping all kids to realize their full potential. We don't understand fully why yet, but the world has changed, and so many more young people need the benefit of trained social workers to help them sort through their mental health and other issues. Each school needs these resources, where without them, many students will flounder and will likely become a strain on teachers and the students around them on an ongoing basis. It just makes sense to enable schools to discover these needs as early as possible and provide them with real solutions. As we get farther into the digital age, challenges become greater, and they're not going to disappear. If we don't deal with them appropriately, they will fall behind. I hope you'll be able to act. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Michael Burtz.
Good evening. Michael Burtz. Dr. Marty, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, and Ms. Stover, thanks for the opportunity to speak. I found last month's presentation on the social emotional program evaluation quite compelling, and I'm here to offer an informed perspective. I was struck first by the clarity of the data. First, the significant increases of demonstrated needs amongst the student population in the district. And second, the stretching of the responsibilities that we're assigning to the people charged with their care. And in many situations without continuity of personnel in buildings or where they're split between schools. I can tell you the value that these professionals provide to the students in the district. And I keep coming back to Project Parkway's notion of how we serve each and all of our students. These are non-trivial demands on us. What I can also tell you is that as much as these mental health issues are difficult to engage with and solve, being in the right headspace is crucial to a student's academic performance. It should not be a question of equating personnel for social emotional services to those for academic subjects. When a student is struggling with anxiety or educational autism or another impediment to learning, no amount of math specialist is going to solve that issue and allow them to do their best work factoring quadratic functions on a test. We can be rightfully focused on supporting and improving academic performance, but in my mind, if we don't appropriately take action in a fashion that can help some of our most at-risk students, we not only potentially fall short of our mission, but we also miss some of the most impactful opportunities for overall academic improvement. When I think about the impact of our social emotional support professionals and what they can do, I don't see a position that could have been a classroom teacher. I see a force multiplier. My doctoral work was in cognitive science, how people learn. I am the son of a public school teacher. What we seek to do in fulfilling our mission is very dear to me. In that light, I would ask the board and administration to both hear what Dr. Schulte and Ms. McGeiser presented and to open the aperture of thinking on how to meet these needs in service of our mission to every student in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Linda Gieseking. She'll be followed by Diane Peterson and Melvin Schulte.
Hi, good evening. My name is Linda Gieseking. I'm a Parkway alum, mother of 2 Parkway grads, almost lifelong Parkway resident, and have been an active volunteer in the district for 20 plus years. While I was volunteering, a student became upset and caused property damage. I left that day wondering what could have upset that student. Was it something at home, something on the bus, a bad grade, or an unkind comment from a peer? Or was it the culmination of many events and emotional distress that resulted in the action? I felt for the student and for the intensity of emotion that must have existed for that student to damage school property. Then I wondered, what will happen to that student? Will it simply be a disciplinary action, or is there someone to help the student understand why they behaved in this way? What kind of help does the district provide for kids who develop skills to make alternative choices when highly upset versus just consequencing the behavior with removal from school, etc.? As a lifelong member of the Parkway community, I can tell you the type of response I expect to see when children act out. We must understand the mental health of a student and its connection to action, especially for students showing a pattern of unhealthy behavior. The sting of a suspension does not identify or heal the underlying cause, and when this is the primary response to misbehavior, we set kids up for repeat mistakes, especially if the student returns to school stressed, anxious, behind in their work due to missed classes and possible falling grades. I expect Parkway to have adequate systems and staffing in place to work with the student so that student develops emotional management skills that promote a different outcome the next time the student is faced with adversity at home or at school. During the last board meeting, the district set forth a proposed plan for revamped and a more robust mental health services. I hope Parkway will see that through and make sure that there's staffing levels to allow well implementation.
Next up is Diane Peterson.
President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Marty, Ms. Stover, and all present. My name is Diane Peterson. I'm a social worker in the district, and I'm here to advocate for the comprehensive mental health services proposed at last month's meeting. We must have adequate systems, staffing, universal mental health screenings, and suicide prevention programs to ensure that mentally unwell students in Parkway get the help they need. I am with a group of courageous folks in green who have come to share tonight to illustrate the vital importance of evolving our mental health services in Parkway. One may ask, should schools be involved in mental health? To that thoughtful point, I offer this. There is ample research to show that when students are mentally unwell, their learning and academic achievement suffers. The gold standard for mental health services in schools is multi-tiered systems of support. An array of mental health education and interventions aimed at preventing and addressing student mental health concerns. This is a best practice that our school improvement plan needs to succeed. Many factors influence the need for such programming in schools. A big one is the change in the average age of puberty from 14.2 in 1900 to 11.9 today. Puberty in elementary years is correlated with mental health problems for kids because it triggers the brain to develop in the areas of social dynamics, aggression, risk-taking, and competition for social standing, while the parts of the brain responsible for cognitive control of behavior lag by comparison. Enter social media, news, gaming, fears of climate change, fears of school violence. Science tells us that exposure to these things both creates traumas of varying intensities and triggers upset from adverse childhood experiences, negatively impacting mental health. I have no doubt everyone here has deep compassion for our kids. Do we have the courage to help them? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Melvin Schulte, will be followed by Mike Kennedy and Daniel Martinez.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Melvin Schulte, electrician for the district, Puma Union president. Parkway used to proudly display the top 10 workplaces in St. Louis. When was the last time that we received that honor? Parkway was a place at one time that people did not leave for another job. It was a place we told our family and friends about because it was a great place to work. We need to get back to that place and increase our personnel and reputation. We have never been reached out to as a union to ask our thoughts or how we feel as employees in Parkway. Decisions being made on the operations side of the district have hurt us over the past years, taking money from the operation budget to fund other district projects, not fully giving employees the board-approved salary. Some employees did not receive a raise even though the board approved one for everyone. We keep being treated as second-class citizens. This issue has been brewing for a few years, even before COVID. As a result of this, all the departments are short-staffed, from grounds to facilities to custodians. How can we keep the few that are left to maintain our buildings? How can we attract new people to come to Parkway? All departments are overwhelmed with shortage of personnel. In the years past, it was common when working in a building in the district that I would encounter members of the school board. They would interact with all the staff, from principal to teachers to custodians to facilities workers. The board member would ask how things were going in the district and value our thoughts and inputs from everybody in school. When was the last time any members of the board went through the buildings to see how personnel is doing, to hear people's thoughts and concerns? Parkway needs to do better. Thank you.
Next up is Mike Kennedy.
Good evening, Parkway board members. My name is Mike Kennedy, Operations HVAC Maintenance Technician and Puma Secretary and Union Contract Negotiating Committee member. We are here tonight confronting you because of our feeling of total dejection of the way things have been going for us operations staff members. It's seemingly one issue and conflict after another. Being such severely short-staffed in all areas and departments has had and is causing much grief, anguish, anxiety, and stress on everyone involved, from operations staff to building personnel and administrators. The district is getting very few responses and applicants to advertise job openings because of the posted wages that are, in most cases, are lower than what other employers are offering. We are not only not getting applicants, we are losing employees to other school districts and industries. Parkway has refused to increase starting wages to be more competitive. Parkway has lost so many good people over the last few years due to wage issues that it has become both demoralizing and frustrating to those of us left here to deal with the consequences of being understaffed. People are also retiring out as soon as they're eligible instead of sticking around longer. Not only have we been dealing with this issue and problem for years now, but we, Puma, have also been trying to negotiate a contract with the district going on 3 years now, and it has been nothing but a huge struggle for us. And in the midst of all these changes to policies and employee handbooks have been sprung on us with no communicative warning that changes are being made and seem more punitive in nature than what was previous policy. People are afraid of getting sick and having to call out because of new employee handbook language. In short, building maintenance is suffering, morale is going lower and lower, stress is going higher and higher. We thought the district was working to try and make things better for us, but the new employee handbooks make us feel like things have gotten worse for us and that things are going backwards for us. We do not feel appreciated or respected. We want to
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Thank you. Next up is Daniel Martinez. He'll be followed by Brian Patterson and Shanti Kumar.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Daniel Martinez, Parkway's locksmith and Puma's vice president. Working for Parkway School District used to be a sought-after career, not just another job to list on a resume. It was a place that someone would come to work and grow the job into a successful and fulfilling career that would last a lifetime. Unfortunately, that is no longer what we are seeing. Parkway is losing employees to higher-paying districts and companies. Currently, we are down 17 maintenance and ground positions and over 50-plus custodians. The common reason? Pay. The inflated morale that was once common and sought after has fallen flat. As morale falls, employees are less and less committed to the Parkway School District, leaving for better opportunities and pay, thus causing the endless cycle. The overall lower morale continues to leave employees just coming for another paycheck. They do not feel committed to or take pride in their work. The bare minimum is being done, leaving tasks incomplete. As a district, we currently rely on one employee covering multiple positions and workloads, leaving a higher chance of mistakes. These mistakes can affect safety, security, and the overall running of what Parkway School District is. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next up is Brian Patterson.
Good evening. I'm Brian Patterson, the roofing specialist for Parkway School District. Anybody that knows me knows how much I love this place, love what I do, and I try to do everything above and beyond. That being said, Parkway is an above-average school district and an above-average community. But lately, especially with, well, let me stick to January 9, 2024, an average livable pay in Missouri is $57,500, about $27.66 an hour. Granted, that's more to specialized positions, but we have a lot of guys that are doing specialized jobs that don't even make that. I don't understand why Parkway is not setting the standard for being an above-average workplace, especially for maintenance and custodial personnel. We have trouble filling and retaining these positions, but yet HR and management seem to continue to take away from like our perks, whether it be double time or just in general the way the recent handbook was rewritten. It makes it a less desirable place to work, and I feel like we've been stuck in a continued cycle of uncertainty. Like many people feel that our jobs are going to continue to go to contractors, or they don't care if our positions are refilled. And I wonder if that's a truly better way to spend the taxpayers' dollars. Letting go of great maintenance personnel to use contractors that aren't even doing the job right. Thank you.
Next up is Shanti Kumar. She'll be followed by Nihad Selimovic.
Good evening. My name is Shanti Kumar. I'm a Parkway resident, a mother of 3 graduates from Parkway, and a primary care physician. Today, I'm here as a mother who lost her son to suicide less than a month after graduating from Parkway, and as a primary care physician who strongly believes in prevention. Mental health is the foundation, and mental illnesses affect the root of this beautiful tree. We might be focusing on how to get the most beautiful flower or the most tasty fruit, but if the root has disease and not taken care of, the tree will collapse sooner or later. To the outer world, Haran Kumar was a beautiful flowering tree, excelling in academics and extracurricular activities. However, he has suffered from depression since middle school. We had no clue until he reached out for help just 2.5 months before he took his life. Now, why did he not reach out? In Haran's words, he didn't want to worry his parents. The stigma. It was a disease that needed to be hidden under the rug. He thought he was strong enough to overcome it himself. If I had the option to opt in for mental health screening for my children, would I have opted in with the knowledge that I had 7 to 10 years ago? Probably not. Today I'm here to advocate for the opt-out option when doing universal screening, invest resources on a solid tier 1, 2, and 3 system, and the necessary restructuring as suggested by our mental health experts to support our children's social and emotional needs. Thank you.
Next up is Nihad Selimovic.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nihad Selimovic. I'm the head custodian at South Middle School. I've been with the Parkway for about 17 years. I think most of you know we stopped working overtime about 4 weeks ago. The reason we stopped working overtime, we felt someone punished us. The helping Parkway we expecting different way from Parkway to supporting us, giving us extra raise or something like a bonus check or anything like that we feel respecting us for all we do for Parkway. We already overwork with under the pay. We are covering 30,000 square feet and other district covering between 22 to 25,000 square feet. Also, we are covering 8,000 area for 4 hours overtime. My questions to all, do you guys think, do we deserve respect and thankful from all of you, HR, board education, facility management, or we deserve punished, look like someone trying change handbooks, policy to worse way to affect people who most helping the Parkway to covering all this shortage. We are calling all of you to help us and respect, and let's make Parkway a better place how was before for all people, employee, kids, and everyone in the district. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Again, thank you all for your comments. You will receive a response from us in the very near future. Next up, I will call for the approval of the agenda for this evening. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of Education as scheduled for January 17th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. 10.01, communications. The next regular board meeting will take place on Wednesday, February 21st, 2024, beginning 7 p.m. right here at the Parkway Welcome Center. Now we'll go to board and superintendent reports. We'll start with Matt.
I'll be brief to share one thing. In our consent agenda tonight, there is the legislative priorities coming up. I just almost come an annual reminder that one of our priorities is local control. And the fact that we get sometimes this part of the year, between the first day of the new semester, the unbalanced approach we have to take to the semesters for winter break and after winter break. And that is because Jefferson City took away the power and the control from the local districts when to start school. So we have 2 weeks extra after the winter break. I will admit there are other districts nearby that do shorten their fall semester and lengthen their spring semester. So they have an unbalanced approach to their curriculum. The same class in the fall is not the same as a class in the spring. So I do applaud Parkway trying to do their best with the calendar that we have, but the control is taken away from us to have a effective, nice fall semester and a good spring semester. So I encourage you to talk to your legislators at both the House and the Senate and encourage them to give back local control and give us back the control of our calendar. That's all.
First off, I want to thank all the speakers today. We're listening. We appreciate you coming tonight. Hope everyone had a good break. I know I was excited for my kids to go back to school after a long break. I don't think they were, but we were. Not much has happened from a board perspective, except on January 4th. Many of us were a part of the PNA Communications Lab, where we got to listen with administration and the PNA regarding upcoming negotiations.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm going to keep mine very brief today. I just wanted to say, we do not respond to comments in public, at the board table, but I do want to say that I appreciate all of your comments today. Both subjects are dear to me when we're talking about mental health and we're talking about living wages. So just know that we do hear you, and I do thank you.
As usual, my colleagues kind of say the things I'm about to say only more eloquently than I'm going to say it, but I want to echo what their comments. Board members have several roles. One of which is to be advocates for the district, and we all certainly enjoy, trumpeting the district's successes and accomplishments, and that's great, but that's the easy part of the job. The harder part is what we're doing tonight. We're here to listen, to understand different points of view, and to implement changes. And to that end, I want to let you all know how much we do appreciate hearing from you. I certainly understand it's not easy to stand up in front of your colleagues. It's not easy. For some, public speaking doesn't come naturally, but it takes a lot of courage to stand in front of strangers and point things out that can improve. And I want to let you know that we certainly appreciate it. Nights like tonight are very important. We don't take it lightly, and I just want you to know that you are heard, and we will work to listen and to continue to hear you and to shape the district into a better place for everyone.
I acknowledge everything that my fellow colleagues have said. In fact, I was going to, in preparation for my report tonight, thank a number of people within the Parkway School District. The first of which is going to be, I will do my thank yous for all the gifts that we have seen listed on our consent agenda items. These gifts have been monetary gifts that have been provided for student lunch accounts to help with families who no longer have the ability to pay for their lunch accounts, is to help that effort. It's also monetary donations that have been provided toward our social workers throughout our district so that they can provide the different needs of our varying students. And there's a variety of other things that our gifts are coming from. But these gifts are coming from our individual administrators and our teachers and our staff. And I want to thank them for that, because that is a sign of empathy, and that Parkway does care about what's happening here. So we do thank you for all those gifts that you have provided to help our district. The other thank you I would like to extend is to all of our grounds workers and our facility staff and our maintenance people, because these past several days and over the weekend with the extreme weather conditions, we know that you all have been out there working hard to make our grounds safe for our parking lot, so that our buses, and for our buses also to be able to still operate in extreme weather conditions. And the parking lots are cleared, our facilities are being maintained, and I know Ralph Knies and some of his team were out this weekend trying to take care of Shenandoah Valley School that had their sprinkler system froze and exploded, and a lot of cold air and water has ruined several classrooms in the library. So those are going to be under construction, and accommodations throughout administration have been made to try to get those students to be able to still be able to learn. And so those, we still want to extend our deepest gratitude to our employees. We recognize that we're short-staffed. We have conversations and discussions about what we are going to do with that. It's imperative that we do try to find ways to let everybody know how deeply we do appreciate the work and the care that you are showing to our district. And for that, we like to thank everybody who works very hard to help us there. And we will continue to try to work toward our best efforts that we can to take care of you. I did attend a PAMI meeting, which is our multicultural group that meets on quarterly. Cortelia Lucas hosted this event, and I must say that Erin Crowley and Jennifer Prophet did an outstanding job of leading the conversation on transitioning into high school and what that looks like. I even learned a few things, and I'm still a Parkway parent, so thank you very much for that. I will also want to let the community know that the special school district, since I serve on the governing council, the representative for Parkway, that the special school district has announced a new superintendent. Effective January 1st is Michael Macklin. He is replacing Elizabeth Keenan as superintendent of the special school district. And we don't have much on the legislative priorities front, as Mr. Schindler reported. We are going to be having a legislative breakfast with our legislators in March, so we welcome the opportunities to be talking with them. We also recognize that within our community, St. Louis University, you may have heard in the media recently, did some demographic data and information that is showing that the city of Chesterfield is one of the largest growing demographics for the increasing of the immigrant population there, and that it is affecting our school district. So we are hiring additional English language learner staff to help be able to embrace those students so that we can ensure their academic success as well here in Parkway. Next Mondays, or actually next Tuesday, several of us, a couple of us board members and Dr. Marty and some other members are going to actually be visiting our alternative delivery center. This is our ADC, where students who are under discipline action go to be able to serve out their suspension times, out of school suspension, so that they can stay up to date with their schoolwork. We've not visited that in quite some time, and we're going to be doing that next week, and hope to learn a few things about that and how we might be able to, see what's going on there, and to touch base with that program as well. I believe that's it.
And I'm not sure I can, Kevin, you already said this, but I don't think I can even match the eloquence, even of Mr. Seltzer.
I bet you can.
In appreciating, expressing our appreciation for those of you that have given so much to the district over so many years. And as my colleagues have said, we have heard from a lot of you, and we continue to seek the input and advice of those of you who are actually doing the work. So we thank you for being here. One of the things I wanted to mention that happened recently was a future educator networking event. This was an event put on that provided an opportunity for some current students, some recent graduates. Matt Schindler's daughter was among them. These are all students and college students who are interested in becoming teachers. And we couldn't be more thrilled that they're coming back here to Parkway to network, to hear from some of our professional educators and take that next step towards becoming a teacher. Because as many people know, this country is facing a shortage of teachers, like a shortage of a lot of other things. And so it was a great event, and we look forward, later this spring, we're going to have another one of our future teacher signing days. We started this last year. For years and years, we've done a signing event for high school seniors that are going to go off and play some D1 sport or do something like that. But we thought it was important enough to hold an event for teachers, those who are seeking out that profession, because it's very important.
You might want to indicate who was the main speaker that night.
The main speaker was Mr. DC, Darian Cockrell, who was a graduate of Parkway South? Central. Yep, Central. And I've heard him speak before. I've heard him speak at statewide events, and he stood over here in this corner that night and spoke to a small group of kids that really took away an empowering message that he had to share. And if you ever get a chance, if you're looking for something to do, he's got some interesting videos out there, and I encourage you to go check him out, because he's got some really good words to share with all of us.
He was Missouri Teacher of the Year.
And he was Missouri Teacher of the Year in 21?
21, I think. Yeah.
21? And then the other thing I was going to mention is the State of the District is coming up Wednesday, January 31st. It will be at Central High?
Yes.
Central High? So I'd encourage you all to participate in that if you're able that evening. It was a great event last year, our first time doing it, and I'm looking forward to even better one this year. So, Marty?
Yes, I want to just mention too that Mrs. Hopper mentioned that Dr. Macklin is the new superintendent, another Parkway alum from Parkway Central, the new superintendent at the Special School District, and also a former employee in the Parkway, and a couple of times, I think he started as a teacher aide and then came back and was the leader of Fern Ridge, and moved on to some other positions, but we're delighted to work with him, and he's been a great colleague to work with thus far. I also want to just mention, I had the pleasure last week to be invited to Sam Page's State of the County event, which was held at UMSL, and I went with no idea that one of our outstanding Parkway West seniors students was going to be the MC, and it happens to be Elizabeth Franklin, Tiffany's daughter, and I was just blown away, as so was some of my peers, and so was the audience. She was just so professional and so mature, and what a great opportunity. My peers looked at me and go like, wow, who is this? Well, I said all our students like that in Parkway, but no, it's great, and what a wonderful salute to Parkway West, but certainly to Tiffany and her husband for just a wonderful young lady. So it's really enjoyable to see that, and very unexpected. We also have an announcement. Nathan Birch, Dr. Birch, the principal at Claymont Elementary, has been chosen as St. Louis's Region Elementary Principal of the Year. And more on that. Hopefully, he's a candidate now for the State Elementary Principal of the Year. So we're very delighted for that. Mrs. Hopper kind of stole my thunder about recognizing our staff, many of you who spoke tonight and others, and certainly a lot of our supervisors who the last couple of days just put in an unbelievable amount of work. And Shenandoah, I think we had staff there starting on Sunday, and actually it was pretty good. We're back in, not all classrooms, but they did such a marvelous job drying. There are fans there. I was there on Sunday there again this morning, and school resumed there. So again, not to steal Mrs. Hopper's thunder, but we have such dedicated and committed staff that put a lot of time in over the weekend. I want to salute them, but I also want to salute people in the technology area who also were doing some marvelous work over the weekend, and also our transportation department, which yesterday they started all the buses to make sure that, or on Monday started all the buses to make sure they'd be ready for Tuesday, but we didn't have school, but they were all ready to go this morning. So just wonderful to see that occur. I think we covered a lot of things in terms of, Jeff talked about the education evening, and remind us about the state of Parkway. We are in the process of going through a lot of interviews. Of course, a lot of you are aware that Patty Bedbro is retiring, so we've been working on her replacement, where that is underway. And Will Rosa, who is our Director of Transportation, longtime Director of Transportation, is leaving at the end of the month, and our replacement has been so noted. We'll be announcing that. And also, I had the pleasure last week of attending the Parkway Alumni Association board meeting. This is their 30th year as a program, and very supportive, of course, of Parkway alum, but also the school district and our new teachers, and they give many awards every year. And they're continuing to be very, very supportive. And it kind of ties in line with our 70th anniversary here as Parkway as a school district. So it was a delight to be part of that last week. And speaking, going back, Patty did and I did have the opportunity to ride buses with Will Rose one last time. We try to ride buses quarterly, and it's just wonderful to get out there. And we had Will's kind of swan song bus ride to celebrate all the work he's done in the district for a long time. We did have the Central Area Art Show, too. It just had a wonderful turnout on kind of a challenging night. And we have a lot of art shows coming up. I also say, coming up, we have February 4th, we have the elementary Focal concert. It's an afternoon event that is going to be held at Manchester United. That's right, thank you. And then, it's at First Free on near Carmen Trails, yeah. And then musicals, high school musicals are coming up, so keep abreast. There's a lot going on. This is a very, very busy time, certainly. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Board of Education candidate filing. 5 candidates have filed for the 2 open positions in the Parkway Board of Education. The candidates in order of filing and as their names will appear in the ballot are, and as I call your name, you're welcome to stand if you're here in the audience. Matthew Schindler, Kevin Seltzer, Todd Williams, Stacy Meiton, John Tettinger. The election is Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. The terms of Matthew Schindler and Kevin Seltzer expire in April 2024. Next up, we have a fairly healthy consent agenda. We've all had an opportunity to review that over the past few days. So may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in the January 17th, 2024 board materials?
So moved.
Second.
Is there anything to be pulled to action or closed? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. We have no individual action items tonight. We have no policy review. However, we do have a report, and that is the Communications Department Program Evaluation. We've been looking forward to for some time. So I'd like to invite Elisa Tomich, our Chief Communications Officer, and Annie Dickerson, our Director of Communications, to join us at the podium.
All right, good evening. President Todd, Vice President Hopper, esteemed members of the board, Dr. Marty and Ms. Stover. Thank you for having us here tonight to present to you the Communications Department Program Evaluation. Annie Dickerson and I are going to walk you through what our department does to serve the district and our parents and staff, and to give you a sense, and also to give you a sense of what recommendations we have for improvement. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so this is the flow of what you're about to see. We're going to start with process and timeline, the guiding questions we use to frame our research, the key findings from that research, and then finally our recommendations. So this was a journey that started about a year ago. You probably remember that the Board of Education held a preliminary work session back in February of 2023 for the Communications Department's program evaluation. About a month later, the department returned to you all with a list of guiding questions for discussion and consideration. These are the questions that we use to guide the evaluation. How does the communications program align with best practices? What is the current satisfaction level among key stakeholders? What are the communication preferences of our key stakeholders? How do our program goals and measurable objectives best support and align with those of the district? And then finally, do our staffing and budget match program and district goals? It was really important that the evaluation consider these key areas of study. So the ones listed here are really the bread and butter of what the department does day in and day out. We do have secondary functions that include sports marketing, the print shop, and also alumni relations. Those were not part of this evaluation. In communications, strategic planning always begins by first identifying the audience or audiences. And this evaluation was no different. We considered who we needed to approach, our primary audiences, and what information we needed to get for them to inform our research. So the study included a mix of primary and secondary research, surveys and focus groups. We did a self-evaluation, and we closely examined communication programs in peer school districts. Next, I'm going to hand it over to Annie, who's going to walk you through our department and what we're currently doing to meet the expectations of staff and our families.
Thank you. So before we get into more information about the research and the evaluation portion of our evaluation, I just wanted to give you a brief overview and summary for everyone on the current work of the department. So these are some of the key communication services that we provide in the department, some of which you're very familiar with, internal communications, some with staff, external, a lot with parents, crisis communications. We do a fair amount of issues management, external and internal. A fair amount of the research, or some of the research, particularly community public opinion, is housed in our department. So that can also look like environmental scanning of what's happening in our region, what's happening in our community, what's happening in the world. We do a lot of planning and counseling with departments and school leaders around communications and training on all of our systems that we use, our mass communication systems and our newsletter systems and our website. So we do a lot of training and support for those technology platforms. Media relations, I know many of you are familiar with, we have a strong media relations program and outreach to our news media. And as you all are involved in frequently, we have a very deep community relations and engagement program. And so that looks like Project Parkway, and that looks like all of our advisories and our committee groups and all of the thought leaders that we bring together throughout the community on a regular basis to help us give feedback and move forward together. These are some of the audiences that we serve. Again, not probably a lot of surprises for those of you on the board, but we do target our communications around our business and corporate partners. We have a lot of support organizations that support the district in the community, the food pantry and other 501c3s that help support our kids and our organization. We work with our legislators, as you know, and government leaders locally, nationally, or more so at the state level. And then, of course, beyond the district and our key stakeholders, we are doing outreach on a regular basis with our broader community, residents, taxpayers, all of those who support us. We use a combination of high-tech, we call it high-tech and high-touch strategies and tactics. And so you're familiar, I'm sure, with a lot of the digital communications, social media, a lot of what you would expect in terms of a varied number of channels that we use to be effective. But we also have a deep commitment to our what we call high-touch engagement. So that looks like we know that we're most effective when we're one-on-one with people, when we are in those committee meetings, when we're reaching out to the community at Project Parkway, when we're having those interpersonal connections. And so we do a fair amount of community engagement so that we can continue to do that. This is what our current org chart looks like for our department. And so you can see, you're probably wondering why some of them are in blue and some of them are gray. The blue ones are what we would consider day-to-day functional responsibilities that support the communication goals, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. And then, as Elisa mentioned, we have a number of support programs in the department. We have a sports marketing program, as you know, for our business partners. We have the Parkway Alumni Association as part of our department, and the print shop. Oh, and Miss Mary, who is our district receptionist, Mary Fisher, who is the voice of Parkway when you call. So one of my favorites. So I wanted to walk you through briefly, these are our current goals. So prior to this evaluation, prior to doing any research, these are the 2 high-level goals that we've had standing as a department for a long time, and the measurable objectives that we've been measuring for quite a long time. So for example, goal 1 is that we preserve and enhance the high level of community support that Parkway has. And so as you all know, we have benefited for many, many years, 70 years almost, from a very high level of support from our community. And so we are consistently measuring that to ensure that we are preserving and enhancing that trust that our parents have, that our staff have, and also the broader community. And so we want to make sure that in order to maintain that trust, we have a number of different opportunities for people to give two-way feedback. Again, Project Parkway is a community engagement strategy that falls under that. And then our other goal is, not surprisingly, to produce effective communication to and from internal and external audiences. And so we've outlined for you some of the objectives that we have. And as Elisa walks through the research tonight, you'll see this is what we're measuring ourselves against, what we have been using for quite some time, and what we use to evaluate our progress when we did our research for this evaluation. I did want to point out number 3. So we have as one of our measurable objectives that at least 65% of the content that we share with our parents and staff is telling the story of how our teachers and our schools and our staff are contributing to student success. And so we actually go in and measure we code every piece of content that we share to ensure that, yes, we're providing information on a day-to-day, right? So we have to tell people that there's no school tomorrow, or that there's a snow day, or that the decision that Dr. Marty has made about a program, or the decisions that you all are as a board are considering. But we also know we want the majority of the content that we're sharing with our community to be about student success, about staff success, and how we're contributing to that together. So that's a really important objective for us, and we've been able to track and monitor that over time with success. So now I will turn it over to Elisa to talk about the research we did in the last 12 months and what we learned.
All right, so we'll dive into the research. To determine how the communication program aligns with best practices, we took a very close look at peer districts in Missouri and nationwide. We examined 13 plans that were considered to be award-winning plans, so as measured by the National School Public Relations Association. So over the summer, we went through these, and a few things stood out. The first thing that really stood out was that some districts have comprehensive long-term plans like we have, and others have annual plans that are more short-term and tactical. There were a handful, a very small handful that we found that had both, and we thought that was very beneficial. And we also noticed that compared with exemplary districts, that there's definitely opportunity for Parkway to be measuring the effectiveness of not just communications, but public opinion more routinely with our stakeholders. In the spring of 2023, the communications department began a self-audit. So we used a rubric from NSPRA, which I'll just call it NSPRA. It's the National School Public Relations Association. And we looked at how we measured up in about 6 competencies. And for the most part, we were measuring in every single one as either exemplary or established. And so, but the main difference in those 2 categories often comes down to how much research we're doing, the frequency of that research, and the consistency of it. So, as you know, Parkway historically goes to the community every 4 to 5 years prior to a bond campaign to get a sense of what public opinion is. In exemplary programs, they're doing this more often, often every year, usually using nationally normed questions to benchmark public opinion. So we see a lot of opportunity to move towards that. We see it to be pretty beneficial to get a better sense of where public opinion is, because it seems to be shifting pretty widely in a lot of places, particularly post-COVID. So we wanted to make sure that we really hit hard on our primary audiences, and those 2 audiences are parents and staff. And so we wanted to get a lot of feedback from them about communication. So we used over the spring and fall, we did surveys and research groups, and we were really intentional at ensuring that we were hearing from a diversity of people with different perspectives. And you'll see the different tactics we used. We ensured that our communications were translated into parent native languages, and that our survey participation matched the racial diversity of our community. So you'll see 60% of our respondents to our survey were white and 40% were non-white. We also had a mix of randomly selected and targeted focus groups. And we were happy that our survey response rates were similar to those of the district, so we had a very good sample size. So what did we learn from those surveys? From parents, we found that parent satisfaction remains very high with the district, so especially compared with national data. We also found that parents, for the most part, are very satisfied with district, school, and teacher communications. And about 2/3, but just the one thing that really stood out in this is number 3, which is 2/3 of parents agree that the district does a good job of listening and responding. Our objective here is 75%. It was 67%. So while that number is up from the prior year, it's down from what it was in 2018. And so we see a lot of work to be done in that area. So another finding that we found to be pretty fascinating in in the survey comments, we learned that while parents prefer communications that are pushed out to them via email and text messaging, they also say they're getting too much. So they talked a lot about the volume of email they're getting. And I think anyone with an inbox can relate to that. I mean, just everyone's overwhelmed with email, and especially if you need to find it again. And so we saw that in our survey responses. We also saw that parents are more responsive to school and teacher communications compared to district communications. So that shouldn't be much of a surprise, considering the relationship parents have is with their school and their teacher, and less so the district. And parents also want to know more about issues and challenges that Parkway is facing, and then how Parkway is responding to those challenges. From staff, we learned that staff are satisfied overall with district communications, but they're not as satisfied as parents are. So you'll see there's about a 10-point difference there. And only half of staff say that the district does a good job of listening and responding, which was down 25% from the similar survey the year before. Comments on the surveys indicate that staff have frustration with how the district is communicating major decisions. And staff also want to know about the challenges that Parkway is facing, and then what Parkway is doing to respond to those challenges. So another similar theme to what we heard from parents. In the fall of 2023, we began a series of 9 focus groups. These were focus groups that were focused primarily on getting feedback from parents and staff, although we did have a targeted community focus group with the Communications Advisory Committee. And you can see here that we held them with PTO leadership, PACCD, and PAMI. We did targeted teacher and staff focus groups, and also randomly selected operations focus groups. The key findings from these, the strongest themes, really very closely mirrored what we heard in surveys. But I will call out a few of these that were a bit different. Well, one, again, we heard that parents and staff prefer email as a primary communications tool, but they acknowledge the heavy volume. We got there was a pretty clear call for a centralized, consolidated, comprehensive communications platform. So basically, folks are calling for kind of a one-stop shop place where they can receive information from their teachers and schools, find it when they need to, and where they would have relevant information that they need when they're needing it, such as maybe a field trip form, school lunch balance, that kind of thing. I'll also call out number 6, that stakeholders are asking for us to close the feedback loop when we go to them for surveys, or go to them with surveys. So we heard that they're wanting to know why we're asking the questions, and then what those results are, and then finally how the results are used in decision making. let's see, did I skip one? Okay, so we wanted to look to see how well our department was aligned with the district CSIP. And this, we found opportunity here. So, you know, as Annie and I have both mentioned, Parkway we have a comprehensive communications plan that is one of the reasons why we tell stories around the 4 C's. So capable, curious, caring, and confident students. If we were aligned with the district's annual CSIP, we would also be telling stories about belonging. So we see opportunity to have an annual plan that aligns with the district CSIP, so that way we can be telling stories around strategies that are focused on improving student outcomes. When we looked at how well our staffing and budget meet program and district goals, we did a couple of things. We compared our budget and staffing to national standards, as well as we also looked at peer districts in Missouri. And we identified peer districts as districts that have similar enrollment and operating budgets. And, but you know, to really answer this question effectively, you have to think about what type of communication services your individual district needs and whether or not the department is staffed and has the money it needs to meet those needs. And so that can vary from district to district. So what we found overall from this research is, number one, our department staff size is at or below other peer districts in Missouri and smaller than peer districts nationwide. We also found that the key responsibilities our department has very closely aligns with the responsibilities that we're seeing across communication departments and districts in, you know, nationally. So you'll see on the left-hand side a list of responsibilities, and these are from the NSPRA 2022 member survey. So every year, it's interesting to kind of watch how these responsibilities rise and fall. You'll notice that there are 2 that we identify as emergent needs of Parkway for our team, and so the internal communications and marketing, those 2, we see an increasing need for us to be spending more time on. And so while we believe that Parkway's communications size and budget have met our program goals in the past, we do think that they are inadequate to meet emergent needs such as internal communications, employee engagement, and recruitment marketing. Recruitment marketing is something that we're starting to work more collaboratively with human resources on, taking a look at critical needs in operations, primarily custodial and ground staff. And we're about to launch a pilot campaign, a digital marketing pilot campaign that we don't see as a one-stop shop thing. We think it's going to be something that we will continue, and we're looking at, you know, how that fits into our existing structure. So, and same with internal communications. We see a big need to think more strategically about how we're communicating change across the organization. And right now, our staff is not organized in a way that that's being handled effectively.
I get to do the fun part of summarizing 200 pages of research that we did over the last year, which seems like a long time, and then here it is. But we did learn a lot. It was a great opportunity to evaluate where we're at, to do some great research, to confirm some things that we believed, but also to develop some opportunities for improvement. And so in terms of our overall key findings, the program that we currently have would be considered highly established according to national standards. It is aligned with best practice, and our goals are aligned with district goals. Elisa pointed out a couple of opportunities where we feel like, and we're going to talk about those in the recommendations, where we can more routinely measure how we're doing and how we can improve, and also ensure that the goals of the district for that particular year have specific strategies and tactics around communication for that year. Parents and staff were generally satisfied with, they were feeling informed, I think is what I would say. The overwhelming theme that we heard again and again is that they felt informed. They reported that they were satisfied. They did report an overwhelming volume of information that is coming to them and an inability to process that. And there was some frustration that was clear. I think every single parent focus group we did, someone said, I can't, there's too much and I can't find a place where I can get everything. We have a lot of different departments, staff groups using different platforms, using different ways of communicating. And so we saw that there was definitely a struggle there. As Elisa pointed out, it was clear that staff are less satisfied than parents currently, and that is a trend that has shown up in the last couple of years, because we have, this benchmark data going back for a long time, and so we can see that there is a trend there that is not aligned with our goals. So with that, these are our key recommendations, not to say that we have a lot to think about as a department in terms of how we can improve our plans moving forward. So the first thing we're planning to do is update our comprehensive communications plan, that long-term plan, and also to write a plan for next year that is aligned with the district's CSIP plan. We will are recommending that we measure parent and staff satisfaction annually. It has not been routine, and not just satisfaction with communications, but satisfaction with the district and how we are supporting our staff, how we're supporting our students, the Parkway experience, and how our stakeholders are feeling about that. We are also going to recommend that we measure public opinion more frequently, and so we're putting that at the every 2 to 3 year mark, and we certainly could be flexible with that. But we feel like 4 to 5 to 6 years is too long in the rapid pace of change that we're experiencing in the world, that 4 to 5 years is too long to go to 60,000 households in Parkway and say, how are we doing? So we're going to recommend a 2 to 3 year cycle. That would put us at another public opinion survey in the fall of 2025, based on the last time that we did that. Number 3 is aligned with the work of another committee that's happening in Parkway right now. Dr. Matheson and his team are leading a comprehensive survey committee to try to streamline what we're doing with surveys, and to also clean up what, in terms of closing the feedback loop, as Elisa mentioned, on people want to know why we're surveying them, what we're doing, and the actions that we're taking based on that. We heard that over and over and over again. And so we want to support that committee, and I'm sitting on that committee, but we want to help develop a protocol for all departments and schools and the district. So if we're going to go out and ask the question, we come back and we say, this is what we heard, this is what we're doing based on what we heard. Number 4 is we need to identify ways to streamline our parent and staff communications to answer that call for being able to find what people need in one consolidated place. We've already started working on this, and I'm hopeful because there's a lot of development happening in the K-12 technology space right now. A lot of vendors are advancing new features and opportunities to be able to consolidate parent communication and staff communication. So we've already started looking at that, and we will have a solution to recommend by August of this year. I will say, as our Jason Rooks behind me would say, that the tools are only as good as how we use them. And so I think as an organization, we may have to get really serious about streamlining and providing guidelines for schools and teachers and departments on how we communicate, and using the same tools for the same types of communication, because we can provide the tool all day long, but if everyone isn't using it, then parents won't be able to, and staff won't be able to access all of the information in one place. So, and then number 5 is we are evaluating our department staffing and budget. We have already started this process to ensure that we are aligning all of our resources and our staffing and budget resources with the emergent needs that we mentioned. So internal communications is a big one, and also recruitment, marketing, and other emergent needs. So at this time, after all that, did we go 5 minutes over or 10? Somebody will tell me later. We may have gone a little over, but we have plenty of time to take any questions that you have, feedback, thoughts, your own recommendations. We're happy to do it.
Well, I'll just thank you so much for such a comprehensive review. I know when we sat here a year ago, we had lots of questions and we had lots of suggestions, and it looks like you hit every single one of them. So I'm happy to see that, and I love the 200 plus pages of data, because some of that's really fascinating.
It
I'm sure
is.
you probably feel the same way.
Fascinating, it is.
I had a couple of questions, and I'll lump them together, and either one of you can answer them. Back on slide 25, you talked about the staff reporting a 25% drop in feeling like we do a good job of listening, the district does a good job of listening. Was there anything that jumped out, any single or a couple of things that jumped out as reasons why? Was there a takeaway that had something to do with COVID, if it was in the last few years, or was there something else? And then my other question was, on slide 19, you talked about public feedback, and I think going more frequently is great. My only concern would be if we're doing that same practice right before we do a bond campaign, would that interfere, would our request to the public for their feedback get too watered down if we did it too close to each other, or would we try and tie that to that general practice before a bond campaign?
Great questions. Number one, I will say I've thought a lot about, because the research was clear that there is some decline in staff satisfaction around a number of things, but communication was one of them. But we certainly, this was not a diagnostic of staff satisfaction. It was communications, and measuring that is certainly part of it. What I will say stood out to me was what I saw in the comments in the surveys and what I heard in the focus groups was not primarily, but a theme that I heard was that how we communicate decisions. So people feel informed about what's happening in the district, but sometimes they're not feeling informed on how the decision was made, why the decision was made. Also, the timing of these surveys is tricky, right? Because it's a snapshot in time. So this survey went out a couple of weeks after a decision had been communicated that impacted a work group. So would the results have been different if it had been sent out at a different time? It's hard to know. Being able to benchmark it and measure it annually should help us get a better understanding of that. Your second question, I think what we're saying is that our recommendation would be that the timing of the public opinion survey related to bond issues would stay the same. And then we would take the period between the two bond issues. So right now we're looking at maybe a 6-year cycle. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. We would cut that into, essentially a 3, or cut it in half. So you would do 3 years, and then you would keep the timing of that public opinion survey for the bond issue the same, and you would measure public opinion and facility needs as we always have done in that same cycle. Certainly don't have to do it that way, but those surveys have served us well for a long, long time, and we have the data going back 20 plus years. So my initial thought would be not to mess with the strategy and the thought behind that survey, just add another one in the middle. Does that answer your question? Okay.
I just wanted to tell you how impressed I am with the presentation and how much I respect what you're doing. It sounds like the feedback is everyone wants lots and lots of information transparently, but in less emails, which if you figure out how to do that, please let me know.
Well, the good news is there are platforms that allow you to do that, and so we're seeing districts move towards them, and we've been on a few calls to take a look at how they work, and I mean, the technology is really cool. So there are some advancements that I think will hopefully in the next year we can move towards and address some of those needs and concerns.
Not just a district-wide group text.
Correct.
I can't help but saying, I recently was on a webinar with our good friend Ray McNulty, and our Superintendent Association, the theme was, how can we better communicate? And the assumption, so we're not alone, but the bottom line was we have to be more aware of clarity of communication. The same thing was talked about. We send out so much, and I heard other superintendents say they got the same issue. So we have to be more clear about decisions, more clear about, what is really important to read. And maybe some other stuff isn't as important, but the clarity issue was really stood out to me, and it kind of reinforced what you talked about tonight.
Any other thoughts?
I just want to mention, you do have somebody who came to join you tonight that maybe you want to just, I think it was great.
So thank you for that, Dr. Marty. James Skorberg, until a few weeks ago, was our digital communications coordinator in Parkway. He contributed significantly to this research and study, designed all of the slides that you see in front of you, and won a lot of awards while he was here in Parkway for our department in 7 years. He had a great job opportunity offered to him a few weeks ago, and so he's left us. It's very quiet in the office next to mine, but he surprised us tonight to show his support for the district that he will say raised him and taught him, and for the work. So thanks, James, for your help with this.
I also want to mention that we have our two Kathys here, so Kathy Kelly and Kathy Dodge, who are also two incredibly important members of our team. They are in back.
And I just can't help but say, this report is kind of an illustration of what I've been observing in my office. You know, Annie's been with us for a long time, and she's kind of the stable force between her and James. But Elisa has joined us, and the two of them are working well together and working well as a department. And so Lisa's, again, brought in new ideas and kind of inherited this review, but with Annie's help, carried off. So thank both of you, and your partnership is really valued. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? Great, thanks.
Thanks so much.
We have no work session, no special meeting, so may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you all for attending.